No exaggeration, this is the worst game ever.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, hello, everyone. Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse. Thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the number one sports podcasting network. It's your team every day. Of course, we're always free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And what are we talking about on today's show? I'm glad you asked. See, normally, if you've been following along Locked On Syracuse ever since I've taken over in February of 2024, I record a post-game show for you all after every Syracuse football and every Syracuse basketball game. The key word in there is post-game. And the second key word in there is after. But this game is so bad, Syracuse football at Notre Dame, that I am actually recording this while the game is still going on in the first half. In fact, I've angled my screen so much so that if I take a look like this, I can actually see what's going on. So Syracuse is down 49-0 with 4:25 left in the second quarter, and they just ran a run play which got no yards. So by the time you're watching or listening to this, it's probably halftime of this game. I can't even begin to describe to you how bad this is, but I will try. Sound good to everyone? Great. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So what went wrong for Syracuse? Let's start with the overarching question. What went wrong for Syracuse? Comment your thoughts right now in the comment section below. I think it's because they don't have starting running back Yasin Willis in this game. Obviously, I'm just kidding. This dates back to week 4 and the Steve Angeli injury. By the way, former Notre Dame quarterback Steve Angeli. And it's a shame that he can't play in this game because it was a homecoming for him. Or at least, I don't know if it's a homecoming, more so it's his former team that he would go up against. And I don't think there's any animosity there between Steve Angeli and Notre Dame. But it would have been cool. Unfortunately, he suffered. Syracuse fans know this. He suffered a torn Achilles in week 4 against Clemson. He was rolling to his right, and it just buckled. I don't know what to tell you. It was a really unfortunate injury. And Syracuse fans, you're probably also aware that ever since that point, Syracuse has been dominated in every game that they have played in. The closest that they have come to winning a game in this stretch, which has been 2 months, was Halloween night against North Carolina, a game in which they were actually leading at the half. And yet I still believe they lost by 17 points because it was very fluky how Syracuse was winning that game. So it's bad. It's all bad. Nothing's good. There's no positives on this. The only positive of this game is that the game will eventually end. It has to end. There is a clock on this. This, thankfully, is not baseball, where there is no clock on baseball. A team can score 20 runs in an inning, and you just have to deal with it. Football, the game will end. The game will end. Anyway, Fran Brown made a really bad mistake going into this game. Now, last game, when Syracuse played before the bye, it was against Miami, I laid out the quarterback plan for Syracuse moving forward, what they have to do. Obviously, no matter what Syracuse did at quarterback for this game, it wasn't going to matter. They weren't going to win. We know that. But it was very obvious what they had to do. Just start Ricky Collins for this game. Why start Ricky Collins? It's because he has no future with the team. We all know he's leaving at the end of the year. I don't need to spell it out for you, but actually maybe I should just to clarify it. It's not an official report, but the writing is on the wall. The fact that he has been benched not once, but twice to a walk-on lacrosse player at quarterback tells you all you need to know. You think Syracuse is going to invest anything into him this offseason to come back? No. You think Ricky Collins is going to want to come back after this season? Probably not. And so because of the fact that he has no future with the team, it actually makes sense to start him for this Notre Dame game. Why? Why start him? Well, you let him deal with the wolves of Notre Dame, as we can clearly see. Because playing Joe Filardi, and I'll get to the Luke Carney situation in just a moment, but playing Joe Filardi is malpractice. The second play of the game was a pick six. Then Syracuse punted. And then Joe Filardi threw another pick six. Malpractice by Fran Brown to start Joe Filardi in this game. I don't get it. But it gets a lot worse. You see, ladies and gentlemen, after Joe Filardi throws his second pick six of, I'm looking at my notes now, the first quarter, Luke Carney comes into the game. Now, the fact that Luke Carney is entering the game is one thing, but you have to understand the situation. See, Fran Brown said publicly that they want to preserve Luke Carney's red shirt for this season. Heading into this game, Luke Carney had appeared in 3 games. That means that Luke Carney can appear in one more game this season and preserve the red shirt. It was so obvious what Fran Brown had to do. You don't play Luke Carney in this one. And then you can decide whatever you want to do for the final game of the season when they're at home and they're playing Boston College. By the way, Boston College should be favored against Syracuse. I know Boston College has a better record than Syracuse, but post Steve Angeli injury, make no mistake, Syracuse football is the worst team in all of Power Conference football. It's not even close. This team wouldn't even be 500 in the Sun Belt Conference with how bad they are right now. It takes a special type of bad to the point where this game wasn't worth watching within 10 minutes. This game is so bad that Notre Dame football has been around for 119 years. And they have never had a better start to a football game until November 22nd, 2025 against Syracuse. I don't even know what to tell you. As I was checking the game on my TV right here, it's actually embarrassing. I guess we'll continue the conversation next on Locked On Syracuse. College football is in the final month of the regular season, and aside from Syracuse, I couldn't be more excited. You got the tailgates, the rivalries, energy in the stands. There's just nothing like it, but let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. You got endless queues, hidden fees, prices just magically jumping at checkout. I don't know why. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you are going to pay. And honestly, with Game Time, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse, and we are still in the middle of the worst football game ever. So, beyond just this game, because honestly, who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And I got to be honest with you. Do any of you actually care about Syracuse's final game against Boston College? There's actually no implications to it. Nothing is going to happen. They can't play Luke Carney in that game anymore unless they're going to burn his red shirt entirely. I have no idea what Fran Brown's going to do at quarterback. My guess is probably he's going to start Joe Filardi. Why not at that point? I don't know. So, moving forward, what is the plan for Syracuse football? What can you take away from this? Comment your thoughts right now in the comment section below. As I, again, continue to look over to see what is going on the television. I also have live stats pulled up at the time of this recording. They're facing a 4th and 6 at the Notre Dame 30 just before halftime. So I guess Syracuse is moving the ball a little bit. Oh, they kicked the field goal. Great. They kicked the field goal. So 49-3. They scored points. This roster's got to be gutted. Let's go with that. Most of these players are not good enough. Fair to say? Fair? Because it's one thing when your quarterback goes down and your team is struggling. It's another thing to look this bad. I think this is a special type of bad. Like I said earlier, I don't even think this team would be 500 in the Sun Belt Conference. I really don't. No disrespect to the Sun Belt. I'm searching for answers. I really am. This is not an easy show for me to do because it is so non-competitive. Remember when the Cleveland Browns were at their absolute worst in the mid 2010s? You know, when they were going 0-16, 1-15, and people would ask, what would happen if Cleveland Browns played the best college football team? What would the best college football team do against the worst NFL team? And anyone with half a brain would tell you that even the worst NFL team would absolutely demolish the best college team. And there's a reason for that, because the worst NFL team still has, 53 NFL players versus a college team where they don't have 53 NFL players. So this is essentially what this game is. Notre Dame is like an NFL team, and Syracuse is like a college team. Notre Dame is like a college team. Syracuse is like a high school team. Notre Dame is obviously a top 10 team in the country. Syracuse has struggled mightily since the Steve Angeli injury. You got to gut the team for the most part. Look, and reinforcements you'd hope are coming. They do have a top 25 recruiting class in the nation coming in, assuming that everyone signs in the class. And I hope that this game doesn't impact it at all. Don't get me wrong. I mean, look, I hope it doesn't. I don't think it will. I don't think it will. I mean, Syracuse was doing terribly, and they got Tadarius Hughes, a 4-star defensive back, to flip from Florida State to Syracuse. Calvin Russell, the 5-star wide receiver in the class of 2026, has already stated numerous times he's locked in with Syracuse. He's locked in. He's done. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if we had on Mike McAllister last week, if like a guy like maybe Javion Cooper flips or Cameron Wilson flips. But for the most part, I expect that most of the class that Syracuse has, which is, again, top 25 class in the country, will be back or will sign with the team. So you'll have some of those guys who can be immediate impact players for next year. Who are the building blocks that you want to build around? Well, the good news is that the guys that you are probably thinking about who are building blocks, so Demetres Samuel, the corner, Byron Washington, offensive lineman, Steve Angeli, the quarterback, those guys have already said, Yasin Willis, who's not playing in this game against Notre Dame, those guys have already stated that they are coming back to Syracuse, that they won't enter the transfer portal. That's great. That's terrific. I would then add on Antoine Delorier as someone who Syracuse should prioritize, who Syracuse should try to keep. So of that group that I just mentioned, so yeah, Steve Angeli, the running back Yasin Willis, Demetres Samuel, Antoine Delorier. Great. Let's get those guys back. Byron Washington too. And then everyone else, I don't care. Like, legitimately don't care. This is very much like Syracuse basketball at the end of last season. Remember, Syracuse basketball at the end of last season, we knew they weren't going to fire anyone on the coaching staff. They weren't going to do it. Despite me saying I wanted them to make a change, but that's neither here nor there. They weren't going to change the coaches. So you have to change the players. And Syracuse basketball, to their credit, and results to be determined on what happens this season, but they were very smart with what they needed to do. They knew that they only needed to prioritize two players to come back, and that was Donnie Freeman and J.J. Starling. They made sure that those guys came back. Everyone else either ran out of eligibility or they said, sayonara. Go to another program. You're good. Goodbye. That's what needs to happen with Syracuse football this offseason. You got 5 guys that you need to prioritize coming back. And then everyone else makes no difference. Makes no difference. Maybe you can argue, I would like to keep this receiver or that receiver. I would like to keep Jonte Cook. I do think Daryl Gill has some upside. But outside of really that, who else do you want to keep? Again, you got a top 25 class coming in. You know that some of those guys are going to be impact day one guys. This team ain't good enough. This roster ain't good enough. The talent is not good enough. And so you need to gut most of this roster, prioritize a few players, hit the portal hard, and come back next year a lot better. Sound fair enough? Am I being too harsh? Comment your thoughts in the comments section below. And now I'm actually looking at the score. It said 49-3 Notre Dame, but now I'm reading 49-0. So I guess Syracuse didn't score. Again, it's hard for me to pay attention. I'm recording now at halftime. But coming up next, I guess we'll talk a little bit more about this game and the future of this team. So stick with me here on Locked On Syracuse. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Notre Dame's money line heading into this game was minus 50,000. So obviously, terrible odds. You're not going to make any money off a bet with Notre Dame money line. But I hope you took advantage of what I was saying during the week, which is if you bet Notre Dame money line, you can literally put down the minimum of what you're allowed to bet. And Notre Dame's obviously going to win. Now you get $300 in bonus bets. Unfortunately, can't really use the same strategy for Syracuse football next week because they are at home and they are playing Boston College, but you get the idea, right? It's a free $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Locked On Syracuse, I'm Jackson Holzer. The Orange are in the middle of the worst game ever. I finally found the positive, ladies and gentlemen. I have found the positive. Are you ready for it? It can't get worse. we often say it can't get worse, and then it does get worse. But in this rare moment, that is the reality. It cannot get any worse. They're down 49-0 at the half to Notre Dame. One of the other silver linings of this game is that Syracuse kept it 35-0 at the end of the first quarter instead of 42-0. They made it so that Notre Dame, when they scored their 6th touchdown of the game, it occurred in the beginning of the second quarter rather than at the end of the first quarter. Couple of positives. Will Nixon has 10 carries for 18 yards. Joe Filardi has completed 10 passes for, that's not terrible. But he's got 2 pick sixes. What else? Davian Kerr had a nice kick return to start the game. Jack Stonehouse is doing his best, but he had a punt blocked for a touchdown. CJ Carr has completed 4 passes for 42 yards and a touchdown. His team is up 49-0. Jeremiah Love has 100 yards. Jadarian Price has 68 yards on the ground. The guy Stroman has a pick 6 and a block punt, so he's having a great day for Notre Dame. Jalen Stroman, safety. So do you guys think that Syracuse is going to beat Boston College next week? I wonder who's going to be favored. I would personally favor Boston College. I don't think you can favor Syracuse when these are the results of their games that they have played in ever since the Steve Angeli injury. I'll read it for you right now. I have it on my phone right here. 35-point loss to Duke, 13-point loss to SMU, 17-point loss to Pitt, 25-point loss to Georgia Tech, a 17-point loss to North Carolina, not Notre Dame, a 28-point loss to the Miami Hurricanes. And if Notre Dame wanted to win this game 100-0, they could. I'm very curious to find out what Notre Dame is going to do in the second half. I would not be surprised if the second half, I'm making a prediction while you're probably watching the second half right now, assuming you are even watching it, that they might do what it's happened before. Are you ready for it? Remember when Syracuse played Wagner in 2022? It was when Syracuse started 6-0 that year. They played Wagner, and in the second half of that game, they made it so that it was 10-minute quarters, so 10-minute third quarter, 10-minute fourth quarter, and it was a running clock. I honestly think that that's what they should do for this game. Why do you need another 30 minutes of game action here with whistles that stop the clock? Who cares? You're down 49-0. If you let this game go on any longer, I mean, you're risking injuries here. So I honestly do hope that they end this game as soon as possible. If you are Fran Brown in this scenario, I would love to be a fly on the wall of the Syracuse locker room. Let's put it that way, because as a coach, I don't know what you're supposed to tell your team. And if you are a coach currently, or you've been a coach in the past in sports, comment your thoughts right now. I'm actually very curious to your thoughts on what you say to your team in this scenario. I mean, obviously I wasn't a Division I player, but I grew up playing a little bit of sports. My best sport was actually hockey, fun fact. I've been in games where I've been blown out and games where I was the team doing the blowing out. I've been in games where we were expected to dominate and games where we were expected to get dominated. Like I remember when I was maybe 11 or 12 years old, my hockey team won 27-0 in a game. But we were really young. I've also been on the flip side where my teams lost 12, 13, 14-0. Youth sports. What can I tell you? That stuff just happens. But I was so little, and as I got older, the dominations were less frequent. And they were never, I think, on the extent of this level. So what do you say as a coach to your players in this scenario? What do you say to the recruits that are committed to Syracuse? How do you get people to still believe in the program? I don't know. I would like to believe that I still do believe in the future of this team and Fran Brown's direction, but we've reached rock bottom. That's what we have done. That is a full circle moment of this podcast. We have reached rock bottom together. It cannot get worse than this. Unless they lose to an FCS team, but that is basically impossible to lose to an FCS team because you can go no quarterback in that game. You can have Dan Villari be the quarterback and Syracuse would beat an FCS opponent. So it's not going to get worse. Even if they lose to Boston College next week, it's not worse than this. It really is. Comment your thoughts in the comments section below. Honestly, I tried my best. So if this wasn't the most clean podcast, if it wasn't the most entertaining podcast, if you were confused at any point during the podcast, I completely understand. This is a raw reaction, a genuine raw reaction where I did not prepare a lot of notes for it. And I just flipped on the record button and I said, let's go. Let's just chat. I wasn't expecting to do this, and I hope I don't ever have to do it again. I don't think I will. There are blowouts, and then there's this. I mean, last game, I should say, Syracuse had a bye before this. But against Miami, Syracuse was blown out, but it was, I guess, a quote-unquote respectable blowout. You know they weren't going to win, but okay, they lost. What did they lose in that game? It was 38-10. Okay. That's a respectable blowout. This isn't. Notre Dame literally had its best start in program history. They've been around for 119 years. They've played against FCS competition. I don't know if I have anything more to add. So coming up on this podcast in the near future, we'll see if I'll do something again post-game, like actual after the game. Maybe, maybe not. The next full podcast, I can guarantee you, is going to be Syracuse basketball related. I am doing a crossover episode with the host of Locked On Cougars because Syracuse's next opponent is in Vegas on Monday, where they are taking on the Houston Cougars. I'm recording that tomorrow night. That podcast will be up on Monday morning, so it's a big preview before the game on Monday evening when Syracuse takes on Houston. And to just go through that Syracuse basketball schedule real quick for you all, ladies and gentlemen, because it's really going to reflect on the podcast schedule as well. Syracuse plays Houston in Vegas at 6 p.m. Eastern. There will be a full post-game reaction show to that. I promise you, it will not be during halftime of the game. Then after that, they are playing Kansas, no Darren Peterson, at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. There will be a full post-game reaction for that one. Then Syracuse is going to play either on Wednesday or, you ready for it? Thursday, which is Thanksgiving. So if they are playing on Thanksgiving, I'm going to have a nice little chat with my family because there might be a game. And so there will be a full post-game reaction show. There will. I promise you. Love my family, but this is the industry. Players, broadcasters, whatever. Not complaining about it. I'm just telling you. I guess I'm just... You know what? We're down 49-0. What else do you want me to say here? Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy this podcast, less so about the team, more so about the podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about this crazy, lunatic Syracuse fan that will actually continue to watch this football game. Yeah. So long, everyone. Peace.